Hello, friends and RC family. My name is Alec from High Noon Hobbies. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you checking it out. And if you aren't new to the channel, well, appreciate you coming on back and enjoying yet another Friday morning with me. This time we're headed out to Little Moab, and we're going to enjoy a nice scale trucking morning with the slut crawling crew. Like to come out here on Saturdays, do some testing, do some running, do some showing off of the rigs. You can see here T, the slut crawler himself, has painted a new body on Grim here, so that's pretty cool to get to show on the channel. Mike cooking up some nice breakfast for us, some bacon and eggs, little breakfast Sammys. Killing it as always, Mike. On the food, you doing amazing. Keep being the most amazing person and feeding me so well, better than I get fed at home. Wait, that's my fault. Anyways, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at two different rigs, although we're not really comparing the rigs so much as we are comparing the ideologies. I don't know that that's even the case either. Basically, I want to make the case that it's possible to stay competitive without spending a ton of money on your rig. So this SCX-10-2 with Rock Pirates shock towers front and rear and Rock Pirates rock sliders is a perfect example of what you can do on a pretty tight budget. This has a, I think this has, let's see, a Hobbywing 1080 ESC, which is a pretty inexpensive ESC. It's got a brushed crawler motor, which is like a 28-turn crawler motor. It's pretty inexpensive, but it's one that I want to say it's one that Logan West Desert Wheeler recommended to Scumbag RC at one point, but I can't remember what it is. I will put a link to it in the description though, so if you want to know what this motor is, I will put a link to kind of all of the different stuff that I'm running on this kit down below so that you can recreate this if you want. But to get off that sticking point here, we've got stock axles front and rear. We've got some pretty inexpensive Desert Lizard shocks that are tuned again kind of to a spec that West Desert Wheeler came up with. It seems to work pretty well. Proline body is fairly expensive. It's probably one of the more expensive parts of this whole rig. But besides that, that's about it. In this particular video, I am testing out some new foams. So that is a little bit of an advantage that I have on this video that I wouldn't normally have, or a disadvantage because I'm not as familiar with them. But I think that these foams helped me. They worked really, really well, better than my old tires and foams did. These are some 3D printed foams by my buddy Jace or 816 Garage on Instagram. So if you want to follow him, I'll put a link to his account down in the description as well. He's got some really cool stuff going on. But so that's not typical for this rig to have kind of a more expensive wheel and tire setup, but I do still think that these are just like some Amazon Chankwish type of wheels and some Proline tires by the looks of it, although I'm not 100% certain, and then as I said, some 3D printed foams. So not exactly an inexpensive setup for the wheels and tires, although still totally achievable on a budget, I would say. The steering servo in this guy is just a baseline standard Metal Gear Savox servo, pretty much one of the cheaper ones that you can get from them, like a 1210, 1212, don't remember which one of those, but one of those, and this is kind of showing off right here. This obstacle often binds up my steering servo, so I just kind of have to square up to it and get my steering servo in the position that I want it to be in beforehand. Right here, those tires not gripping on the side hill quite as well as I'd like. I think that's probably because the tires themselves are new and need to be scrubbed in a little bit. But all right, so overall, that's kind of an overview of this truck, the build itself. If you were to go out and try to recreate this truck yourself, I think you'd probably be in somewhere the like $750, maybe $800 range or so to create what you see in front of you right now. So this is the budget build for this comparison. And really, again, like I said at the beginning, not so much of a comparison as just a conversation starter. I want to know what you guys think. Do you prefer purpose-built chassis? Do you prefer the flat rail, the G-Speed, the low range, the Green Mountain, that type of stuff? Or do you prefer the modifying of your own chassis and trying to kind of do your own thing, find your own way to a better solution from what is available on the consumer market as a more stock product? I'd be interested to know what you guys think, so let me know down in the comments down below. Unfortunately, I hit that gate on that 2 cones back there. It is a very tough climb for me. I haven't been able to figure out a good way to get this truck up it. I think I need to do a little bit more suspension tuning maybe, and obviously with these new tires, I'm not sure how that impacted it. I haven't done that run without these tires, so I need to go back now and do it with my old tires and see what the difference is and kind of make my judgment on tires and foams at that point. Taking the bonus gate now. Going in nice and slow, and that's one thing that you got to do when you don't have a brushless setup, is you've got to approach kind of large drops like that a little bit more warily, because you don't have as much wheel speed to save yourself. If you end up running out of wheel speed and you're endoing, there's not much you can do about it. With a brushless motor, you're far less likely to run out of wheel speed. Here I tried to one-shot it. Again, that wheel speed from the brushed motor coming into play. Wasn't quite able to one-shot it, needed to take a reverse, square up to a little bit more, get up and over. But ended up with a -8, a 520? Was it a 520, 44? 540, 22? 540, 22, and a -8. So pretty happy with that score on the Rock Pirates rig. And now the more expensive of the 2 competitors. This is a low-range RC flat rail chassis with axial SCX-10 axles. Probably familiar to anyone who's done one of these flat rail chassis builds before. They are pretty popular to put underneath AR-44s. Is that what they are? Not 100% certain on that. That might be the capper axles. These are not, though. But this is a great example of that low center of gravity chassis, hanging a ton of tire up in the air there, and it does work in keeping planted on that side hill and settling back down exactly in the right spot in a very predictable manner. You can also take a different approach here than I took, coming at it a bit more squared instead of a little bit higher up and to the left like I did, but he ends up in the same situation, and he also has to take a back up just like I did to get his rear tire up and over on the right hand side. Now he did have to take a much smaller reverse there, and I think he definitely needed a much more minor correction to square himself up to that than the Rock Pirates rig did.
You're at 152 right now. Maybe like 2 seconds, 3 seconds less than that.
So, a low center of gravity flat rail chassis from Low Range RC, a brushless ESC and motor setup. Can't remember exactly which one is in here, but I know that it's a some version of a Castle ESC that's tuned to his liking. And then he's got a more expensive high torque servo in this. For this particular run, I can't remember. Oh, I wish I could see at this particular point in time. I'm sure we'll see at some point, and I will link down below. This is either a Reefs Raw, a Shift, or an NSDRC servo, but any of those three, all very, very high performance brands when it comes to high torque, quick response steering servos. So he's spent probably 3 to 4 times as much money on steering servo as is in the Rock Pirates build that we watched go through. He is not testing new tires and foams. These are the ones that he typically runs on his rig. It is some form of a dual stage foam setup, open cell and closed cell combo that he's running in there. As you can see here, his steering servo is just absolutely getting worked, and he can work his entire body up against that ledge and just square up into the perfect spot. And that steering servo has no problems, doesn't bind out at all, and he has no power surging issues there. So that's where you start to see your money come into play. He's got a lot more torque in his steering servo, a lot more controllability. Fortunately, I missed kind of the entry, but we get the second part of the entry here, and he just makes that look like a piece of cake. So that's another point for the low center of gravity rig. He ate that line for breakfast. That rig made it look like a piece of cake, and as you could tell from my struggle in my run, it's not an easy line. Saves this cone with a little bit of wheel speed. I've tried to play that back a few times, see if he didn't make it, but I'm pretty sure he made that through clean. And he is quickly approaching my score, and he hasn't even hit the bonus gate yet, so that is unfortunate. A 440 at this point, and he's only got the bonus and the last gate yet, so we can see there is a bit of a time difference at this point, and he's going to use wheel speed to get through that gate as opposed to my slow crawl. Something that he can do there, like I was mentioning, with his brushless versus my brushed. He's got more wheel speed if he needs to save himself from some sort of endo situation, where I was a little less willing to go into that with as much wheel speed. And here, squares up to it, doesn't take a reverse, just uses his overdrive, and he's able to pull himself up and over there. So the more expensive rig does end up with a better time and a better score. -18 and a 517 versus a -8 at 540 for my Rock Pirates rigs. Two different rigs, two very different setups, two different drivers. But I hope that we gained at least something out of this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.